Decades ago, we used to use rubber knives, and they actually cost more than the wooden knives, and they'd last about 2 months, then they'd break right at the hilt. And so we went to wooden knives, and there are a couple of, we're going to be doing knife techniques, a couple of cautions with a wooden knife. Okay, first of all, this one has gotten, usually I file the tip down, because I had one student who really ripped his hand open. One of my brown belts decided to stop one of these knives this way one day, and fortunately, I mean, it was an incredibly messy wound. Fortunately, my only concern was nerve damage, and there was no nerve damage. There was no real. It was all superficial, fortunately, and he had a cute little scar, but his hand.
How was the knife?
What? The knife was fine, but all I'm saying is that if you use wooden knives, and people in my class know this, make sure you sand or file down the tip. Okay. The other problem is that you really have to emphasize to the person who's holding the knife to hold on to the knife, because there's a tendency when you're doing techniques, people let go of knives and they fly off in the sunset, they go through windows, they hit other people in the head, you know, and these things hurt. Okay? I mean, they're not going to do a lot of damage when they hit you, but you will know it. Okay, so it's really important that you keep hold of the knife. Okay, I prefer the wooden knife because it's about as close to a real knife as you can get, you know, because it isn't going to bend, it isn't going to flex, it isn't, you know, it's not rubber. If you get it, you're going to feel it, but it's not going to go in one side and out the other. I used to, when I did demos, I used to use a real knife, and then one day, and we were outside doing a demo with mats, and the person did a hand throw on me. I lost the knife. It went up in the air, came down, and I came down on top of the knife. Fortunately, the knife went through the mat. We get up, we look at it, and I pulled it out, and I said to the other guy, "Do you think the mat's going to live?" And we went on. But that was a real learning experience for me, because had the knife been pointing in another direction, I might not be here today, and you'd have a messy mat. So I still have that knife, but I filed down the edges. I mean, it can still go straight, and it can still go into a person, even though it's dull, but it's not going to do any slicing work on me. And the more real you can make the weapon, the more effective it is as a learning device. Okay? Because if a person realizes, yeah, this can still hurt me, they're going to be a little more careful. If you're holding a prop gun versus a rubber gun, yeah, that could hurt me. Even if it drops on my foot, it could break my toe. You know, worst case scenario. I could get scratched. I could get cut. You know, things can happen. Nothing serious, but things can happen. And that's the value of having, you know, weapons that are as real as possible. For those of you, we use. This is one of the lamest. We use these for clubs. We used to use, back in the 60s and early 70s, wood clubs. And of course you have to hit it nicely, and you couldn't swing hard, and all these things. And then when someone got smart and said, okay, let's put foam on them, so you wrap foam on, and you know, it looks klutzy and all that other stuff. And then one day one student came in with one of these, and I said, what's that? He said, it's a golf club tube. He says, that's what my friend and I practice with. We cut off the ring off the end, we cut it in half, and we can swing full force with these. And if you hit the person in the head, that's what it does. And these were 25 cents a piece back in the 70s. Now they're like, I think, $1 a piece, something like that. It's a golf club tube.
You know what else is great?
And these are probably still from the 60s.
There's 102 uses for duct tape.
Yeah.
Take newspaper and roll it up, and then tuck it rolled up, and you get yourself a nice club.
But you still run into the problem. If you swing full force with that, it can have some potential for injury. This thing, I mean, you know, from a kid to come up with this idea, I thought was absolutely phenomenal. And it's a stupid little cheap piece of plastic, but it allows the student to swing full force. And that's what you're after with your students. Okay, because you want them to learn how to swing, how to block a full force swing. Okay, and once they can block that full force swing, of course the uke decides, I don't want to swing that hard anymore because this is starting to hurt. Okay, so it's just, or deflect. So this is just, a stupid thing. Anyway,
What do they use those for?
golf club tubes.
I don't know.
In your
Golf bag?
keeps the handles of close from getting all mixed up.
Right.
Put 14 of those tubes in your bag and you slide one down each of them. It keeps them from tangling up.
Because I could go to the,
If-
I could go to a golf store.
You can go to you don't go to a golf store because they charge you. Go to a used sporting goods store, and these are like 50 cents a piece.
But if you go to gas sports,
But it's
literally our job.
Some of the newer bags, those tubes are actually built into a,
Then you have to pick up the whole bag and swing the whole bag. That's not that's expensive.
I don't play golf, I don't know
right.
if-
But anyway, it's sometimes it's the really stupid stuff in life that works really well to solve problems. And okay, to knife technique. So we're using wooden knives. Please hold on to them. There's one technique I want to teach where the intent is to get rid of the knife, and the knife normally would go flying off into the sunset and probably stab some onlooker, which is a problem. There are also a couple arguments in terms of if you're going to take the knife away from the person, where do you put it? Okay, because you don't. Oh, and one other thing, let me borrow. Okay, let me just do this simple hand. Come in. And we're not going to do this one, by the way. Okay, and you've gotten him over and you took the weapon away. Okay, and because you were going to do a complete jiu-jitsu technique, you've done a slice so that he can't use that arm anymore, and probably that will be fatal because you've cut some arteries. But you can't do that on the street because that's excessive force. Okay, so what do you do with the weapon?
he fell on his chest.
Okay, if you remove it for him, there is one argument that you put it inside your belt, but the downside of that is if someone's behind you, they can take it out, or you might get your cheek cut. And then you have two cleavages back there. Okay, there are no simple answers in this world. The other argument is to stick it under your arm. So if someone wants to come back at you from behind, they're going to get stabbed. Okay? Okay? The downside of that is to keep this weapon here, you have to keep this hand in here, which limits the use of one of your extremities. Okay, so I don't, it's kind of like 6 of one, half a dozen of another. I would prefer not to have someone behind me. I would feel safer putting it back here because I know where it's at and I've got 2 free hands. Okay, so just that's you can choose either one you want. You can try both of them here. That this is where you try things if you don't know. The other thing is. And this has to do in class, and again this is safety and giving the students some self-defense smarts. They should never give the knife back to the attacker. Oh, here's your knife, so they can do the technique again, because what happens is there have been experiences out on the street where you disarmed a person and they get up and they're on here's your weapon. Okay, and now they have to deal with this person again. In the dojo, okay, you have the weapon, you put it on the ground, you step back in a ready position, let the person pick it up. It's just a matter of your own safety. Okay, the same thing is lie down on the ground. You threw the person. We're going to do a little mat courtesy here.
Up or down?
You don't have the knife. You're just lying down on your back. Okay, you're trying to get up, and I give you my hand and help you up. Okay, really nice mat courtesy. Absolutely crappy in terms of self-defense, because what you're training the student to do is to help get their attacker back up. What should they do? What's the procedure? What are you supposed to do if you have an attacker down? Well, that's yes. You or someone else. But what for your own protection? What is the first thing you do?
When it's safe, run like that.
Before it's safe, you've taken him down. Yeah, you're. Okay, he's down. Whatever he done, Your first step is you retreat into a ready position because you don't know what he's going to do. Once, if you see he's down at that point, you run like hell, as long as you know where you're going. Okay, but you don't help him up. You don't say, "Are you okay?" Or whatever.
Back to the point about where you put the knife. Why are you not getting it in your hand?
In his hand?
No, in your hand.
Because,
Let me say that you take the knife away from me.
okay, I've taken the knife away from you, I've stepped back, I've secured it. Okay?
This is weapon in your hand. Why are you taking that weapon out of play?
I'm not understanding the question. Why am I taking
Why wouldn't you now use it for defense?
on him? Because it would be considered either excessive force, or if something happens to him, then I get to go to jail for, manslaughter or something like
Leave
that.
it in your hand where it's ready in case you need it.
Well, you're assuming he's down, you've broken his wrist or something of that sort. Okay. All I'm saying is, if he's down and he gets back up and you have the knife in your hand and you stab him, or alleviate him of an arm or something of that sort, there is a high risk that you will be charged with manslaughter if he dies, because you had stepped back. The initial conflict is, I'm not a lawyer, but the initial conflict is over. If you have the capability of retreating, okay, you retreat, okay. If you can't retreat, I don't know whether I would take that. I would, if he doesn't have a weapon and I have a weapon, as far as the law is concerned, I'm in a worse position than he is, unless.
I'm going to do whatever I can.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Unless Byron stands 5'1", if Byron is 6'7", weighs 300 pounds, drools at the edge of his mouth, okay, and I'm 125, 5'0", okay, a little wisp of a wimp, okay, then it might be reasonable for me to use a knife, okay, and there is a book that you need to get that will deal with this issue. Flashlight Defenses by, it's out of print, but you can get it. I forget his name, but it's called Flashlight Defenses. And the flashlight defenses are nice. Okay, they're good, they're legit. But what's in there are court cases dealing with reasonable force, charts that are still used today in terms of comparing weight, height of people as to what you can get away with, sex, age, all these factors are figured in terms of how much force you can use against an opponent based upon his height, weight, age, sex, whatever. Okay, and that's a real CYA. Okay, and that's
Facing violence is also good.
Yeah, I mean, if I was 5'1" or a girl 5'4", and I've got the 6'5" brute, and I have a baseball bat in my hand, that's probably going to be considered reasonable force. Mm-hmm. Okay.
My thinking was, I've got the knife in my hand. I have done something to dissuade him from attacking me by taking the knife away. I'm not going to go attack him with the knife, but if he gets up and comes at me again, I think he's fair game.
I wouldn't know how to answer that.
Yeah,
I would.
That's just the way I'm thinking.
Yeah, I might say to him, and again, I've had time to think here. I might say, back off. I have a weapon.
Yeah, it's the same as if I took the gun away from me. If the gun is usable, I'm going to put it into a ready position.
Right. Well, yeah.
Instead of
right.
throwing it.
If it's a gun, I would probably, once I've whacked him in the head a few times with it, just to make sure the impression of the weapon is in his head, so that in case they have to decide who it is, I would take it and I would hold it on him and say, stay there. Now, whether I would shoot or not, I don't know.
If he's attacking you, I wouldn't hesitate, because
if he's,
whether it's a gun or a knife,
right.
He's shown a weapon.
Right. Okay.
You have no assurance
right.
knowing, you haven't searched him. You don't know that he doesn't have another weapon.
If he has, you don't know. If I take away a step and he comes at me right away and the knife is still in my hand, I might, in the heat of the moment, use it against him. Okay. I don't know, personally. Same with a gun. I mean, if he's tried to kill me and he decides to get up, yeah, I might shoot him. I would try to make it a non-fatal wound.
I'm thinking the mentality is that I've just taken your gun away, and now I've got it aimed at you. You're probably thinking, this guy's probably going to shoot me. I've just taken your knife away, and you still see that I've got your knife, and I'm not really backing down. It's the same kind of...
It may work.
He's probably not going to attack you.
He's probably not going to want to attack
So
you.
you say to both of you.
Now, if I go and start stabbing him...
Yeah, that's something else. Yeah. Okay, let's get to what we want to play with today. Okay, we're going to start off with, I don't want to do the straight stabby stuff, because that's nice, it's good for basic practice, but you guys are black belts, so we need some more fun stuff for you. Okay, so we're going to have a high swipe with the blade against the forearm, because that's more street legit. Okay, where he's going to be coming in, he's going to slice in and across, and then he's going to be coming back. Now, he wants the knife here. Okay, that's where we want the weapon, because that way it's concealable until. That's what I like about Jute and Koshinobo and some of the shorter staffs. You know, is they're concealable until they're actually out there. Okay, you put the knife on there. Oh, knife! Shit's going to happen. Right now, I don't know what he's got. He could have a gun in his hand, and I've got to quickly call. I keep forgetting your first name.
Barry.
I got to quickly call Barry on my cell phone. Okay, before I get buried. Okay, so what we're going to do? He's gonna come up with his knife swipe. Okay, I'm going to come out and back. Okay, now I have got to do two things real fast. Obviously, he's coming into me. I have got to step back and out of the way. Okay, let it go by. Unless I want to go after it from the inside. My preference is that. Okay. Number one, I cannot, normally when we teach people to block, we say block here and here. You can't do that with a knife blade because it's going to smart. Okay? So what we want to do is when he comes in, okay, around, out, and you're blocking essentially the upper arm. Okay, turn this around, you see what happens. Okay, you're here, I'm here. What I have my choice of two things. That's where I want it, okay, because now it's more dangerous. Out here, I can get behind it. That's, you know, okay, so we want to keep it here for the fun of it. So I'm here. I've got two things I can do. Okay, one, I'm going to dig in, come around and dig into the muscle here and bend it, okay, because I want him off balance, his kazushi. I have his hand. Next step is to go for the hand, top of the hand. I'm going to take this underneath, up, and we're going to go into an arm lock. And this is where you remove the knife. And you stick it in his pants. Okay, no. This is where you remove the weapon, okay? And now we've got him under control, and we can take him where we want to, which was not what he was planning. Okay, again. Now, some people are insensitive to nerves. And a real basic rule, whenever you're in a street situation, if a person is insensitive to one nerve, forget nerves, because they aren't going to work. Or you know, why perpetuate the potential of a risk? So when he comes in here and around, and I come in here, turn around, I'm going to really dig into the muscle. And all it is a distraction. It's right below this muscle. I can feel the muscle. I'm going to dig into that cleavage there. Just dig in. Okay? That takes him off balance. Grab the hand. I'm just going to turn it under. Yes, there's a risk here. That's why when he comes under, I'm sticking my tushy out. It gets my body out of the way. Bring it under and bring him into an arm lock. Okay? Take the weapon. This is a proper hold. Okay? Any resistance after this point is going to cause him pain. Okay? And he can break his wrist. Notice I said he can break his wrist. I will not break his wrist. Unless he has friends. Okay, you're not done yet. He has friends. Okay, yes, I could say, you know, get out of the way, or I'll permanently paralyze Fremont here, or whatever you want to call this. Okay? Okay? Now, whether I would do that or not is something else, because I could end up paying his medical bills for the rest of his life. Okay? That's one thing. The other thing I do is, again, secure the weapon and put him into some sort of control hold, and now we're leaving. Okay? Or we're leaving backwards. So I want you to put him, this is a good control hold. But if you really have to move the person, you've got to have, he's not really off balance right now. I can apply more, see, now he's a little off balance, but I'd prefer to have something else going, just for the safety. Okay? So go for the nerve in the neck, under the chin, wrap the nose, stick your finger up his nostril, anything you want, grab hair, pull it back, whatever you want to get him really off balance so you can move him. Okay? Any questions? Or do you want to see it again? Any part of it again? The hard part is the block. And make sure your belt is not on loose, because it may go through your pants. Okay, now when you do this, when you go to set this up, you want to have your hand at a right angle to his hand.
Oh, at a right.
Okay, let me
up or down?
That's what you want. So this way, see, now you can bend it easily with very little, and once it's set on your part, get your hand at a right angle. Right angle, right angle. Okay. And you really don't have to grab his hand. Just cup it.
Yeah, I'm not through enough. This arm isn't through enough. I need to be more through than I can.
Yeah, but you need to get the knife away from him, because this is not safe for you. Okay. Now again, you're in line with his hand. When you come in here, okay. Okay.
With the knife.
Okay. Okay, let me show you something, because when you come over to this side so you can see what's happening. Okay, I've blocked him. I'm bringing him down. As I bring him to here, this hand is going to rotate. Okay, so I'm about 45 degrees right now.
Yeah.
And as I put I'm going to push his elbow, and as I put it in, now I can bend his hand. Right there.
So you're still, I was trying to rotate this way.
Yeah, you're trying to this way. Eventually, ideally, you want to have it at 90 degrees if you can get it.
I see.
But if you can only get 45, you only get 45. And then once you sense him starting to open up a bit, you take the weapon away right away.
Yeah, I was trying not to put pressure on his wrist because of his arthritis.
Right.
But,
But once you sense him opening his hand, that weapon comes away right away, even if this is not. I'm not worried about it. Okay. When you're here, okay, and you've blocked, and you dug in the muscle, you bent, and you bring him down. At this point, that's okay. That's okay. At this point, my hand is against the flat. It is basically in line with his hand. Okay. As I bring him around and up, okay, my hand, I have to rotate my hand so that I ideally want to be at a right angle to him, okay? And as I'm bending it, when I get to that point where I feel I can't rotate it anymore, I push his elbow, and that allows me to continue the rotation, because now he worries about this. The first thing you do when you sense he is opening his hand is remove the weapon. Don't wait until the arm lock is set. This is more important than the arm lock. This is the weapon. This is what can hurt you. Remove it, secure it. This is going to be hard for me. I would not do this. I'd probably pierce my armpit. Anyway, okay? Or hold it in your mouth, something like that. Okay? Okay. And this is where you want to end up. Once this is set, okay, if he wants to make a fist, it's going to hurt him. Now that's usually what they'll try and do, is make a fist. Okay? Yeah, and I'm not exerting any effort at all at this point, because this is what's called a proper hold.
It doesn't hurt. I just physically cannot make the fist when you're holding.
And ideally, you want to be at a right angle.
I can't I physically can't do
No,
it.
I know you can't, but it's a good try.
I'm trying. I'm really
It's a
trying
good
to
try.
make my fist. I
Okay.
physically
Yeah, but
cannot.
you want to start rotating your hand so it's at a right angle. Because if you're in line with him, you're using muscle against the muscle of his hand. Your hand really is not, as far as muscle is concerned, hands really don't have that much muscle in them. It's more tendon. It allows you to do all this stuff. Okay, it's not muscle. If you say someone has a strong grip, it's probably because they have a big hand, not because they've got, they're strong here, not because they've got muscle-bound fingers. Okay, so try and get that part. I'm going to borrow Byron here. It really is important for the success of this technique, and please, if something starts to hurt, it means that injury has already taken place. Okay? That's something you tell your students. If you feel something is going to hurt you, you need to tap. Don't say, don't do that, it hurts me, or I can't bend that way, or all that stuff is secondary. You say mate. Okay, so the other person stops. And then you can tell him what the problem is. It's like if you're rushing to the hospital because your wife's water is broken and she's going to deliver, and the police, they start chasing you. You don't shout out the window, I'm trying to get to the... They can't hear you. Right now you're trying to evade. Okay, so you stop. They come running up to you, and so the officer says, what are you doing? You're speeding, etc. You say, my wife's having a baby. Okay, that changes the parameters. Either the officer's going to deliver the baby, or the officer's going to get 911, or depending where the officer may provide you with an escort. You've got all these options that are ultimately going to be more helpful. Okay? But you really have to say just mate, because I don't want any of you injured. That's not the intent of camp. Okay, now, when you do this technique, however you do it, okay, get into it, the risk of injury, surprisingly, is highest is not here, but when you bring the elbow down. And some of you are bringing the elbow in against your chest. This does set up a much better brace and base for the hold. But it also provides him with a base. Okay, he can, as you said, from here, turn around and hit me with your left elbow. He can come in at me, or he can take me off balance. And that's what I say, you've got to bring this elbow down so it's under your arm, next to your body. Okay? No, this is not as good a base. But he's actually going to be, when I apply pressure, he's going to be more off balance. He doesn't have a base anymore. I still have somewhat of a base. But where you run your risk of injury in applying this to a person is when you do this, because that, of course, causes all this back motion and muscle contraction, things of that sort. And he may resist here because this is the only place and he can resist, and that's probably why you got the owie for a moment. Because he brought it down in your, and it was just natural reaction. So please be careful. As other senseis have said, you've got to do techniques slowly and be sensitive to your uke. Okay? So I want you to try this again. We need to go on to something else. Okay? Because someone's going to ask you, what else do you know, sensei, for this attack? Okay? Okay. So he's going to come in. I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to, as he goes past, I'm going to hit down with one arm. Okay? And, okay. Now, you may be wondering, why is this arm up here? No, it's not to protect him from hitting me. Okay? It's because I'm going to start a rotation, and this hand is going to be used as part of that rotation. Okay? I'm going to bring this down, around, and up. This hand is going to clamp on his shoulder. Okay? Now, if I am near a wall or something, I will aim him towards that wall. And I will ram his precious little bump on his shoulders into the wall. Okay? Self-defense. He has a weapon, I don't. Okay? My other option, and again, do this carefully, okay, is all I'm going to do is pivot my right foot back and go down onto my right knee. And do this slowly in class because you value your attacker, okay? I am in this position. He is not down flat yet. He still has a weapon. Secure the weapon. Let go of the weapon, sir. Thank you. Use your verbal commands. Okay, now, at this point, you're not done with him. And sometimes students will stop at this point and they let the person up, and this is part of completing the circle that we're going to go into later today. I want him flat on the ground. So if he's not on the ground flat, you need to give him a verbal command, lie down on the ground, and you may need to give him a little encouragement, and that encouragement, are you over there? Come over here, because you need to see what's going to happen. It's a little fine-tuning. Okay. Now, one approach is to use your whole body and push down on his shoulder. That's a lot of force. It's not worth it. Just take your left hand, make it into a knife edge, push down. Okay, that's all it takes to have him lie flat, and make sure then, okay, his face, sir, turn your face away from me. Okay, now, I'm going to take, because this gets sore after a while. The reason you have him turn his face away from you is, for one reason, he can't see what you're doing. Number two, it allows this shoulder to get closer to the ground so you can get a better submission. Okay, but he thinks also, see, if he thinks if he turns his face away, this is not going to hurt as much, and he momentarily, by turning his head away, he's going to feel more comfortable. Okay, not to realize he's actually digging his hole deeper. Okay, but let him dig his hole. Why should you dig his hole? Okay, now at this point, you have some options open to you. You can stay down here, okay? Okay, or if you want, and we're going to get this arm up here because that's where I really want. At this point, okay, if it's self-defense, what you would do at this point is do a somersault over in that direction. And that's the end of the technique. You roll over, get back up in a ready position.
Can I see that?
This? No. Now you can have.
Okay.
I'm somewhat old to do this, but you can have your students do the roll part. Because it's just a front somersault, but make sure they take their hand out before they do the roll. Because otherwise, uke will need some immediate medical attention. Okay? They can follow through just by unwrapping their arm. Yes, sir?
Can the arm also still be, instead of straight, we could do the same technique?
If you do it this, if his arm is bent, you can do this. But because his arm is bent and your arm is bent, there's a risk you can break your arm in doing the forward roll on a street situation. And the number one rule in self-defense is not to injure yourself. Okay? So, you know, if he's like this and I wanted to do that, you know, now, as long as his forearm is above my elbow, I'm okay. I can do the roll. Once it's below the elbow, then there's a risk of injury to me. Okay, so we're up here. Now, other things you can do from here is, if he has his arm bent, if you want, you can step across. Okay, turn your head the other way, sir. And just one thing to keep in mind, and even with law enforcement agencies, I say you've got to do this somewhat facetiously, but the public's going to be around. They're going to hear you. Whenever you want someone to do something, you need to give them clear, simple commands. And if you can end it with the words sir or ma'am, they can't say you weren't being polite. They can't say you weren't being respectful. Now, that really is totally irrelevant in self-defense, but if it becomes habit, for me it's habit. Okay, there are things you make your habits, a habit, and they become, you do it that way, and you may be doing it, you know, thinking, you know, you dumb son of a, you may be thinking all this stuff, but you don't say it out loud. Okay? And it's kind of like, you know, you may be saying it somewhat, you know, turn your head the other way, sir. On the one hand, you're saying it to let them do it. On the other hand, you know what's going to happen to them if they don't. You're going to cause them a lot more pain, so you may be saying it kind of fallaciously, or whatever you want to call it. Facetiously. Fallacious. Facetiously, okay?
That's getting edited out.
Yeah, okay. But it doesn't, because what people are going to hear is, turn your head the other way. Stop resisting. I don't want to hurt you. Okay? And so you've got to use these verbal commands sometimes. So the technique again. Oh, there's a knife. Okay. He's going to come in. This hand is up. Okay? Because I'm going to start this rotation, bring him down. Now, I could, if I didn't want to take him down, I could just continue this rotation and step forward, and if he knew how to yukimi, he would do a nice flip in the air and land on his back. If he doesn't know how to yukimi, he will go off into whatever he hits, and his head will make the impact. Okay? So you can do this, it depends whether you want to bring him down or send him off into the sunset. If he has a weapon, I don't care to send him off into the sunset. Because if he stops himself, he still has the weapon. Okay. From here, I put this on his shoulder. I can put this hand on top. I'm just going to pivot my left foot back and bring him down. On the street, you would do this a lot faster. Okay. Sir, turn your head the other way. Thank you. Let go of the weapon, sir. Now, put your left hand down at your side. Okay. Okay. You want that hand, visible, etc. You don't want it bent because he can turn it and push off. You don't give him any options. Okay. You want him totally defenseless. Okay. And then you have to decide whether you're going to maintain this hold or go into something else until the police arrive. Some cities it's very fast. Other cities, mañana. Okay, it really depends. Up here, you want the sheriffs. They're here fast. You get down in parts of LA, you want the sheriff. Mañana. Okay. Okay. It's because cities get to choose how much coverage they want. And I guess Santa Clarita is willing to pay for good coverage. So, okay, so I want you to try this a few times. Okay, I'm going to come around, I'm going to go down, little strike there, because that happened, and I'm here. Some of you are getting to here fine. And then at this point, you're pushing down to get him to go down. Okay, he's not totally off balance yet. You haven't gone as far as you could go with your initial movement. So when he comes in, you need to come in again. Okay, good. He comes in here. Okay, I'm going down. I'm going to go as far as I can before I introduce this second hand and pivot my left foot back. If he goes down, so much the better. But you need to keep that momentum going and then just put the hand on top of it rather than stopping when it's up here, because that's your momentum and that's really what's going to take him down. Let him do the work. Okay? This cross block. Okay, let me borrow poor Byron since he's so nice enough to volunteer. Okay, he comes across. Now again, I am blocking with my left hand. I want to get as high on his forearm as I can. I don't want to get on his upper arm, but I want to get as high on his forearm as I can. Okay, because I'm assuming this knife is against, rather than be, the more it's stuck out, the safer it is for me, because the more arm I have to play with. And unless it's a double-edged blade, I know I can come clear into here and I'm not going to get cut. Okay? But I'm always going to assume a knife is double-edged. Go ahead.
No, give it a minute. Even if I have a cock back here,
Yes.
when I come across, no, understand. When I come across, wouldn't I tend to snap it out?
You might. If you do, cool.
Well, I know, I mean, it does make it easier
Yeah.
for you, I appreciate
Yeah.
what you're saying, but I'm
But
just trying to think what
that can
On
happen.
the
it's
comeback,
doing, it's like-
Yeah.
on the comeback, you pop out.
It's like-
Yeah, there is that attempt, there is that, okay, that's what I get for having a pizza last night. There is that tendency, and it usually happens, but you have to assume for your safety that it's still there. Because if it is there, you're going to get cut and the technique's over.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Gerald, who's, I think, somewhat proficient with a knife, guy we know, he will cut you this way.
yeah,
He never launches that knife, he never goes to this angle of the knife, it's always...
yeah, it's an exceedingly effective weapon there. Because you can do a really nice slice and dice with that, there.
Okay. He likes to play with a knife.
Yeah. So, okay, so he's going to come in, you've done this here, okay, you can come across and start this routine. I can come here, I can go into a wrist press here, okay, I can go into an arm lock, okay, I can brace it lower, bracing on his forearm, okay, and do it that way. I can brace on his upper arm. It's a very forgiving technique. You can do a lot of screwing up and the technique is still going to work well. Okay, the one thing I do want to correct on myself, okay, I'm going to have Byron go down. Okay, just go down. Okay, one of the things I said, please get your hand down by your side, left hand down by your side. Okay, that's not correct. Okay, it's very easy for him to, if I'm not paying attention to that hand, well, that's not what I was looking for, because I'm not holding him because it's very easy for him to reach that hand into his pocket or under his belt and pull something out. You'd be amazed what kind of weapons people have on the insides of their pants, on their belts, and their waist. Okay, junior high was that there were times where we would actually strip search kids down to their shorts. Made sure there were 2 or 3 adults in the room so that you had witnesses. But we had some kids that carried all sorts of neat toys, and it's scary. I mean, you just have to be aware of that. So what you want is, if any time they have a hand under their body, let's say your hand's under your body, you want that hand visible. Now, I did not learn that from martial arts training. I learned that from working with law enforcement people. But it really transfers over to us in terms of self-defense. He may be able to have access to something. So you want his hand out. Take your hand out, sir, please. Okay, completely out. Straighten your arm out. You want it out there where you can see it easily. Okay, so it's just something, peripheral stuff that you want to be aware of.
They want him to turn the palm down.
I would even want his, if I could do it, if he could do it physiologically, I would want his palm up, because he can't push off if the palm is up.
I was thinking, if you bring the arm out more, it prevents the roll from him. Because now he's going to hyperextend the...
You want what you're ideally after is the palm up. Okay. We're going to have, what do we want to do next? We're going to take a straight thrust in, almost, and it's going to be such that you can't pull away. And I want him also, when we tend to teach, he'll come into the straight thrust, we tend to block, and the person leaves the knife there. Okay, like on the street, I stabbed you, I'm done as an attacker, either die or I have to take my knife away and stab you a second time. Okay, and what I want the attacker to do this time, I want him to, and you can work on this with your students. So that's a good way to stop an attack. You turn and start talking to other people. Okay, is that my phone? Okay, anyway, one you block, and I want this to be a cross block, which means you've got to block it away from your body. What I want the attacker to do is give a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if you haven't done anything, he's going to take his little attack back, and he's going to attack you again. Okay, so you've got to do something fairly fast. Okay, what can you do? Okay, he's going to come in, you can block, grab, you've got a wrist lock takedown. Okay, Now, if you want, from here, you can just do a basic, you all know the basic wrist lock takedown, okay? If you don't want to do that, you can Charlie horse kick, whatever, bring him down, okay? From here, we can also take this around. That's not good for me. Okay, sir, drop the weapon, drop the weapon, drop the weapon, okay? Okay. Now, from here, what do I want to have a fun technique? Okay, I don't want to do this, and we got fingers. Okay, so what I want you to do is to reach up, curl the fingers. Okay, now you're going to take your middle finger and press it on the tip of his middle finger. And now I want you to play with uke a little bit. Take him forward, take him down, okay, wherever you want him to go. Okay, you can go under him, okay, whatever you're in the mood for. Will you go please pick up your knife? Pick up your knife, sir. Can you pick up your knife? Okay. Okay, hold on to the blade, sir. Okay, pass the knife back to me slowly. Pass the knife back to, thank you, sir. Okay. Now, will you please get down? Down on the ground. Down on the ground. Thank you, sir. Okay, now, does this ever work this nice on the street? I don't think so. Okay, and you're probably going to have to exert a lot more pain on that nail. Okay, it doesn't matter which finger you use. I like to use the middle finger to the middle finger because it's the longest finger and therefore it's the easiest one to feel. Okay, I'm not going to take the time after you drop the weapon. Okay, I'm not going to take the time when here to look and see what I'm getting because I can't see anything anyway. Okay, but just grab any finger, any fingertip, and push in. Okay. If you do this and he doesn't react, now you've got to do, now you've got to go into something else, which is not as nice. But I want you to have, a fun technique today, something you can try on people, and it just annoys the hell out of them, and it hurts, and it hurts, but it's really difficult to injure a person with this. Okay, you're really going to have to work hard to basically dislocate this little bone here out of the joint. Okay, it's an incredible, most people can bend them fairly good. Okay, so I want you to try this. Okay, instead of what was the attack again? Okay, it was come in, we're here, we're around. Okay, he can even still have the weapon in his hand. Just put your fingers on top and dig in. Okay, he'll give you the weapon. Okay, it hurts too much to keep hold of it. Okay, so you can either have him release the weapon first, or you can apply the hold, and then you can say to him simply, "Sir, go down. Down, Spot. See, Spot, lie down. Lie down, Spot. Bark." No. Do you know the Rottweiler? Okay. Okay, let's go.
Let go of the knife. Please. Thank you so very much. And you are on
No, other hand.
this hand.
There you go. Now all you need to do is control one finger. You don't need to press them all.
Yeah, I'm actually just pressing. You feel it's just one being pressed?
Yeah.
Yeah, all you're after is one. You've got three others sitting there. Yeah, you've got three others sitting